Hello, it's time to move some of these seedlings out of here. I don't want to have to deal with them inside the house anymore. I'm running out of space, and our low tonight is supposed to be 30 degrees, which isn't bad. At 30 degrees, it's not bad. Yesterday I went into the hoop house and I tried to set up this little structure that I bought like a few years ago. I'm missing a bunch of pieces. Basically it's just like a little house top structure with a plastic covering over it. You can assemble it, you can take it apart, and I always take it apart like over the winter or as soon as I'm stopped using it. And I've been storing it in my shed, but the thing is every year I find less and less of the parts, and honestly I'm starting to suspect my dog. Like I just realized today he goes into the shed and he just takes what he wants because the door is broken, and then he pulls it out into the yard, and I don't know, somehow we must have misplaced or lost some of the parts of this thing, so I tried to improvise. The plastic covering for it also is half stuck in the snow right now. So it's like iced over and I can't take it out. I can't pull it. I don't want to risk also ripping it. So I put together this really makeshift sort of structure with some leftover greenhouse plastic that I had from when we set up the hoop house a couple of years ago, and some frost cloth that I have. And I monitored it overnight. I kept the hygrometer like inside that structure to see how cold it got at night, and it was essentially just as cold as it was outside. So I don't know, it doesn't seem like such a help. The reason for why I'm doing this right now is because I want to get all of these seedlings, or all of the seedlings that can handle it, into that hoop house structure to grow on. I don't want to have to deal with them inside the house anymore. I'm running out of space. I'm starting to need to pot things up, and yeah, it's getting really messy and it's sort of taking over, and I don't have enough space under lights. I think I can set up like a little bit more space, but honestly I'd need another like shelf, a whole system to set up so I can do more of this like on a bigger scale. I'm barely handling everything that I started, and there's still more seeds that I want to start. So getting things out into the hoop house would be great. It's still getting below freezing at night here, but it's getting a little bit over freezing during the day. Like right now it's 41 degrees outside. And in the high tunnel, like, and in my structure in particular, it's like pretty warm. It's 50 something degrees. So I'm just trying to think of what can handle it, when can they handle it. I have some kale and yeah, some winter boar kale and some black magic kale that I think can go out there now. I have some perennials that might be pretty hardy as well. But I'm thinking I'm just gonna start moving them all the way into the hoop house now. Okay, let me show you. This is the past day's worth of data. Past 24 hours. So it got to a high of 63.9 yesterday after I had set up that structure, and a low of 27.9. Like the weather app says, our low temperature last night was 27 degrees. And our low tonight is supposed to be 30 degrees, which isn't bad. At 30 degrees, it's not bad. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put the kale in, but instead of like keeping that structure up like how I did it, I'm just gonna take the frost cloth, lay that over the plants, maybe have like a little like support structures at the side so it doesn't crush my plants, and then put the greenhouse plastic on top of that as well. So they'll just be right over the plants. There's not gonna be room for like the warmer air to escape, and they'll be nearer to the warmer earth of the ground, and sort of that's how like the blanket will work to conserve the heat from all of that. So hopefully that will be better. Part of me is thinking maybe I should wait like a few more days and continue to just harden off my plants here on the windowsill and then bring them in at night, but I don't know. I have no patience anymore. Like I am ready for it to be warmer outside, for my plants to start going outside, for all the snow and ice to melt. I am ready. I'm ready for all of that. and the big like issue with the hoop house is why I have to create those other structures and sort of cover my plants with a blanket is because the door, it's frozen open. I've been using a zipper door like on that greenhouse for the past couple of years that I've had it, and it's been like working just fine, but I didn't zip it up before it started like snowing and got frozen into place again. Like this past winter for me was yeah, really bad, and I just didn't like I wasn't organized at all, and I didn't follow through with a lot of things for the garden, so that was one of them. It froze open, and now I have to wait until all the snow melts until I can start zipping it up again. And the zippers fell off, but I can always like tape that or re-glue it back. I don't know if this summer or maybe next time Brendan is gonna help me build an actual door, like maybe a whole like face structure for that hoop house. I don't know if I want to extend the hoop house before then or maybe wait a few years to do that. But we'll see how it all plays out this summer, how busy we are and things like that. So here's also my setup for potting up. I have this like big, I don't know how big it is, like this tote, black tote, full of my potting mix that I sort of crumble in here from my big bale, and it gets really dried out. The potting mix, by the way, when you buy it in like this bulk, this compressed sort of like cubes, it becomes really dry, and really it like affects my lungs a lot. Like, I don't know how bad it is, but I felt bad like the other day. I was doing a lot of potting up, a lot of transplanting, and I just like felt really lightheaded for the rest of the day. I don't know, I can't explain. I get really like anxious when I don't like feel well physically, so it's hard for me to even put it in words because my anxiety was getting like super high. But yeah, I just didn't feel great, and I'm starting to think it's just because I was inhaling so much of that. So it happens with these big soil blocks, and it happens with vermiculite a lot too. Like, those things have like such fine particles that you don't want to be breathing it in a lot. So my solution to that has been now to wear a face mask whenever I'm like pulling the soil out and before I hydrate it. But once it's wet, it's less of an issue for me. It's less like I don't breathe it in, you know? And the same with vermiculite. Once it's wet, it's a lot easier to deal with. There's not all that dust and like tiny particles just floating in the air ready for you to breathe in. And just like in my mind, and maybe this is my anxiety, but I just like think of like how it's coating my lungs, like the alveoli and the air sacs that are in my lungs, and I don't know, it's just like I might as well be a little bit safer. I feel better at the end of the day. I don't get so like lightheaded or dizzy, and yeah, I have a little bit of a peace of mind, especially for people that are doing this all the time. I do suggest you wear some sort of PPE. If you don't like this, like the face masks, then there are other things. Like Brendan has a bunch of things for like the construction, the contracting work that he does. There's oftentimes a lot of dust, and that's really harmful. Also, I know that my grandpa was on an air tank, a ventilator at the end of his life. This is before like COVID or anything like that. So it's just from working a construction job. So I'm just like, I think maybe always more careful about that kind of thing. But yeah, I would always recommend people to be like err on the side of caution and just like be safe and be healthy. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a little bit more potting up before I'm done for the day. And what's so great about this table, by the way, is that I can be as messy as I want and then just sort of brush the extra potting soil that falls off down back into my bin of potting mix. But it really truly stays dirty all the time, so it doesn't really matter all that much, just in terms of like how clean I want my workspace at the moment to be. This board of wood is actually taken from one of our closets. So we changed a closet that had like 3 shelves into a closet where we'd like to hang our like coats and stuff, so we needed a bigger, longer vertical space for it, so we removed the middle shelf. And this is it. So we would have like thrown it away or something, but I decided to repurpose it as like my garden shelf. I use it in like a, it's there in a lot of my videos, so I'm sure you've seen it before, but this is just the current setup that I'm working with. Anyways, I'm just gonna finish up with this and then I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.